Hello, my name is Waylon Lewis, and every week we'll bring you a new podcast with Elephant Journal. Hey friends, this is Waylon Lewis of Elephant Journal, and I'm here with my longtime, I feel like we're friends, but acquaintance, colleague, community member, Jeanine. And you have a new book.
It's called Returning the Self to Nature, Undoing Our Collective Narcissism, and Healing Our Planet.
So just a small subject.
Very small. Very small.
Just an easy book to write. So give us a little idea maybe of what inspired this in your background, if you will.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Gosh. So maybe usually when I do any sort of academic research, I tend to dive into my personal life and tend to have some sort of jarring event, and then I need to research it and parallel it to more of what's going on in the world. And so
It's academic. I feel like academic stuff is often so dry and like up its own butt.
Yeah.
Pardon the coarseness of that.
Yeah.
But like, Reggie Ray, like wonderful teachers. And then you read their academic whatever and you're like,
yeah. I never wanted to be that type of academic. And I have more of a background in a lot of experiential pieces as well. And I'm very somatic, embodied. So I often like to think of a research project as kind of a quest where you might plant a seed, a question that you have, and then do a lot of academic research, but interview people, pay attention to dreams, and just see what's popping up everywhere, lots of conversations. And so I had dated someone who might be classified as a narcissist.
So that went well.
It did not go so well. It was a very short-lived relationship, and it's totally not about him, but it got me, and I'm not a licensed therapist, so I can't diagnose someone with narcissistic personality disorder, and it's really hard to do it anyway. But
even though we all self-diagnose and diagnose others casually.
Totally. And narcissism is such a big meme in our society, not just with political leaders, but, across the board. And so I was, reading from academic to like pop psychology to people who had been in relationships with narcissists, like blogs. And it was all like, these people are evil, and whatever you do, you should get away from them. And it just brought up kind of compassion and basic goodness, and realizing in a lot of my orientation, when there's a psychological disorder in the community, that it's a person, it's actually about the community. And
there's that expression, hurt people,
exactly.
Right? So they're not just evil, like they were born evil. Circumstances and national or local or their parents' karma kind of. Is that what you're saying?
Definitely. And narcissists, they tend to have someone who's like their victim, and then once that relationship's over, they just find someone else. And so why would you want to just keep, it's kind of like another not in my backyard situation where you're off-putting some injustice to someone else. So why don't we just address this larger issue?
I see.
Yeah, but you're totally right about the hurt people, and looking at narcissistic personality disorder. I'll say NPD for now on, or maybe it's starts in early childhood, where a small child has damaged trust with one of their primary caregivers. And so they either get too much attention from the caregiver, but in a way that makes them, forces them to attend to the adult rather than their own needs, or they just don't get enough attention. And so they're really wounded.
Yeah. Even with Trump, who I'm sorry, he comes to mind with that word narcissism and healing our planet. There's this feeling of like he's ripped people off throughout his life. He's like always like tried to like me and been abusive and to everyone in his world, and sort of people are only valuable to him in as much as they're useful to him. And you feel like, wow, all that is like throwing all that stuff into a void in here. It just we can't, like you said, we can't diagnose or psychologize someone easily, but it feels like, where is that coming from? Because it's
Totally.
never enough.
Yeah, yeah. And so yeah, a narcissist has these patterns where it's like an overblown sense of arrogance, boastful, ego, ruthless, shameless. They never do anything wrong.
Yeah. I love that you said that. I'm always writing articles on elephants saying, like,
Uh,
from the Buddhist point of view, like making fun of the narcissism empath
yeah,
thing.
yes.
Like, everyone out there is a narcissist if they've treated us badly.
Oh, right.
And
yeah.
we're always the empath.
We're
It's
always
such a
the good-
coincidence.
Yes, right.
It's like reincarnation. You're always Cleopatra or whatever. You're not just
Right.
like someone who's digging ditches.
Yeah.
You're always super important.
Totally.
So it's like, well, the defining characteristic of narcissists is to blame others and accept no responsibility. So if you're saying everyone's a narcissist, but you're the good person, you might be a little narcissistic.
Right? Yeah, and that's one thing I found is like there's an actual narcissistic scale, and so we're all narcissists, and right, me too.
I don't think I'm a full-blown narcissist because I'll self-criticize, have accountability.
Yeah, open
listen,
to feedback. Yeah,
but I'm definitely
you're very compassionate.
But I'm definitely narcissistic too.
But we all are, and it's actually healthy to be narcissistic but not in the extreme. So there's like this Dr. Craig Malkin has a scale that goes from 1 to 10, and we want to be like 5. And we don't want to be like no ego and super insecure, which actually a narcissist is incredibly insecure.
Right.
But we don't want to be 10.
Well, it's like a circle, right? You're like, if you're full-blown 10 narcissist, you're also right by the 0 fully insecure.
A brilliant insight. Yeah.
I mean, it came to mind from how you described it. So
but I love that.
you can have it.
No, I will. And I love that you turned the line into a circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
you want to, that's so interesting. You want to, like, if I say something insulting or talk over you, you want the 5 on the narcissism scale to be like, let's slow down. That may not be true.
Totally. Yeah. And a narcissist, because they were so damaged in their childhood, they create like a false world where they're the center. And it reminds me of like Cocoon, where they constantly have to have kind of this false reality where they're safe, but it's too scary to break out of that shell.
And that's, you're referring to Trungpa Rinpoche's sort of Shambhala Buddhist teachings about we like want to be safe and cozy and watch Netflix and eat ice cream forever.
Totally.
But then part of that is we get sick of it and it's stale, and we want to open the window and be a little brave and vulnerable, and then hopefully become a butterfly. And
exactly. Yeah. And with that, a narcissist has like really low compassion. Sometimes people say no compassion for others.
Yeah.
Which is really damaging, and it needs to be like your birthday every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I feel like I am sort of in the middle. There are people on the maybe insecure side who I find very narcissistic. Like they have to monologue, they can never be interrupted.
Yes.
I think that's very interesting. Like I'm always saying to those folks in my life, like, it's not an interruption, it's a conversation.
Yeah.
As long as it's like 50-50.
Yeah.
Like we're going back and forth. It's not speeches.
Yes. Yeah.
It's tough.
It's tough. And I mean, I recognize, especially like when you get outside Boulder or certain, communities where you don't have opportunities to practice that. So many people don't have those kind of inter and intrapersonal skills. Yeah. Yeah.
So given that we have climate crisis, which is
Yeah.
urgent, we have messed up politics, authoritarianism, all this stuff. You're talking about collective narcissism and healing our planet.
Yeah.
That's a big subject.
Yeah.
What do we do?
Well, so with the book, and I'll say it's from Shambhala Publications is where you can get it, and it recently won a Silver Nautilus Book Award.
Nautilus is a big deal.
Is it? Okay, yeah.
That's a huge deal.
Right, in the category of environment and ecology. So I can
Did
say.
you go up on a stage and they put a silver medallion around your neck?
They were supposed to send me one, and I have a big thing of hundreds of stickers, but I've given all my books away already. So I'll give you a sticker one day.
Yeah, I'll just put it on my own
Right,
books.
right, totally. Oh yeah, that's actually, I should put them on all my books.
You should.
Right? Or the ones I like. Yeah, so my main area of teaching is eco-psychology, which looks at how most people, particularly all people living within Western civilization, and really anyone who's under global corporatism, which is almost everyone, unfortunately. We've disconnected our relationship with nature, where we separate our psyches. And as a result of that, we have so much kind of psychological disorders in our community. And I think even more striking, we've got such a problem with a human caused climate crisis, where we've had, decades to centuries of causing damage to Earth, and more longer than that in terms of colonization, so many different resource extraction. And so
And you can't harm the Earth or other people like colonialization or globalization unless you like other it, right?
Yes.
And you're separated from it.
Yes. Kind of like the Martin Buber I vow. Yeah, where Thomas Berry talks about how we just thingify everything, everyone in our society, or even nature. And most people, when you talk about like a tree, will use like the pronoun it, or like it's they or she or he or tree being.
Well, back in the day, they used to call like ships would be she.
Oh yeah.
And universities or something. There was like definitely some of those things you would call often she, which is interesting. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, like Mother Nature or Gaia. And obviously Earth has a mixture of male and female qualities, as she should. Yeah.
So how do we apply the wisdom? I mean, you have a lot going on. I didn't give you a proper introduction beyond your book. But from being a chair of environmental studies, is that right?
Used to be
at Europa.
Yeah, I used to be the chair of environmental
now
studies.
You'll have to say CIIS, California Institute of Integral Studies.
Yes.
And you've been grounded in a lot of wisdom traditions, it feels like Buddhism, and do you want to say what else?
Yeah, a lot of Buddhism, and then deep ecology philosophy. I'm definitely a long-term meditation practitioner and yoga practitioner, and also a lot of cross-cultural traditions too. And at my position at CIS, I'm in the transformative studies department, and I actually did my PhD there years ago, and just got geeked out about learning about the process adults, how you can expand people's worldviews. And I really focused on looking at models for both social and ecological expansiveness of our worldviews, and kind of looking at how we can be so shut down with like denying climate change or denying racism, and seeing that the expansion of our worldview, it's the same exact process for both issues. And often it's so hard if you want to just go right into climate crisis with someone, or right into it. But when you pair them together, usually people have some foot in the game. What is that?
Skin in the game.
Skin in the game. Yeah. So they can kind of connect more. And with
foot in the door,
right? Something like that. Yeah. And a lot of the work with eco-psychology, some of the earliest eco-psychologists talked about the relationship with narcissism and our unbridled consumerism, and how basically with Western civilization, and particularly, I mean, we're both very US centric, although I know you spent a lot of time in Halifax, but no,
I'm a total US boy.
Right, me too, a quick girl, but yes. And that there's all these memes in our society about the stories like fierce individuality, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, get the perfect house, have the perfect partner, look good, get as many toys as you have. And
he who dies with the most toys wins.
Exactly. And so this
me, like
exactly.
accumulation.
Yeah.
And that, but so you're saying, so there's sort of we're almost like grown up in this somewhat individualistic, very individualistic, but somewhat narcissistic society.
Yeah.
Instead of me depending on you.
Exactly.
Like you're my neighbor and we talk to each other and I get a tool from you and I share tools with you.
Right.
And we trade sugar and coffee or whatever,
Yeah.
like collective kind of community.
Right.
Which is fun.
Yes.
More fun than isolation and Netflix. But, and you're saying maybe in your book, that creates like a kind of collective isolation and narcissism and poverty mentality or hungry ghostiness or something.
And I mean, exactly. And I mean, there's so many we could talk for hours about, and I love talking about this.
Yeah, it's such a cool, I love your angle into this. It's so interesting.
Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, there's, I mean, even, and some of the earliest eco psychologists wrote about how just psychology was used in devising marketing. And so if you think about that and how steep psychology is, and it's like a private relationship with your therapist. And I mean, I've gone to, and I think everyone at some point should, but then, the relationship's like forever because you're also paying their mortgage or, but that we're constantly in transactional and psychology was used to inflate this perception that we needed all of these things along with this kind of American overstory. And so it keeps us like incredibly insecure, like my right size, do I have enough friends, do I have enough, the right wardrobe, do I have the right tools? And so it's like really profitable to keep us insecure because then we're constantly buying stuff.
Yeah.
And if we actually
every commercial on TV, the premise is like, this is wrong with you and we'll solve it.
Exactly. And if we do the collective and start sharing and doing things that actually don't, like trading where there's no profit involved for a corporation or a government, we're actually hurting that GDP.
Yeah.
And so it's really yeah.
There's this fellow in the Buddhist community, Tashi, who worked on gross national happiness.
And Bhutan.
Yeah, this notion that like let's measure happiness, not just the economy. And happiness not in some vague like spiritual vague way, but like, well, do you have water and food security? Do you have he and others broke it down and really grounded in a lot of things, including financial security. And so obvious when you look at it. So great. And I mean, most of us, we can go back, even if we don't know our traditions, we know kind of our cultural groupings, and we can go back and know that we come from earth-based traditions that were more collective. And it doesn't mean we need to like go back to being hunter-gatherers, but we do need to actually start becoming vulnerable and dependent on one another again, like having and nothing's wrong with that. I feel like even Republicans are like individualists, love community and love cookouts and barbecues and rodeos or whatever cliche you want to go with. Like everyone loves a good time,
right? And a lot of Republican or more kind of, especially I think about like the working class person that's actually often more close to nature than a lot of like, liberal Democrats maybe. And we forget that they're actually potential allies in that.
Totally. I mean, I'm vegan and the hunters and fisher folks are huge advocates for nature preservation often. Not always, but often. For sure.
That's
great.
So so the whole seeing the collective narcissism, and then we can get into kind of the techno part of it where we're kind of encouraged to, it's kind of ironic because here we are live streaming, but where we can constantly just tell our story on social media, and like we're on our own like documentaries all the time, and look at me, how many likes do I have, And
Yeah.
I must be special. And
Yeah.
yeah.
There's some great Black Mirror episodes on that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the what?
The light
Yeah,
bulb.
that was that was
Woo.
intense. But
Yeah.
it's kind of yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, I don't need to tell you, but like, from a Buddhist point of view, anything isn't evil or good usually. It's a tool and you can use it, in this case, to platform your wonderful book and your work
you.
and you. Or you can use it, late at night, I could be on the same phone, totally spaced out, scrolling,
right,
looking at how I'm not good enough or whatever, buying, it can be healthy or not.
Right. And I think part of that too, and that's one of that's probably like the last, answer of how we start healing.
Thanks for listening. Hope you're getting a lot out of it. The full conversation is on our indie platform that supports and continues our work, elephantjournal.com/videos. You can subscribe, listen, watch, and participate there. And when you do so, you'll keep these mindful videos and podcasts going. elephantjournal.com/videos. May it be of benefit.